Well, a very good morning to you. It is 6 minutes after the hour here, and it's time for the Neal Show on Power Talk Radio, 1460 and 101 FM. Of course, online at powertalk1460.com/listen. And Neal has a very special guest rejoining us today. She was with us just a couple of weeks ago, and Jennifer Foster from Wales is back on the program. And we're going to have a great show today. I know Neal is standing by, and he's
Thank you, Mark.
getting ready to roll. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, great. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm fine, and thank goodness you made it in the nick of time.
That was amazing.
Oh, I thought I was going to end up having to, play Neal for a little bit here, and I was actually nervous. I was quite nervous about it. So,
Whoa, you got to be kidding.
I'm glad that you're here to save the day. So,
if you took over, my show would only improve,
oh
Mark.
boy, I don't
you
know about
that.
Well, thank you for being so kind about that. Anywho,
All right,
listen,
buddy.
go ahead and take it away. Your guest is potted up and ready to go, so it's all yours.
Good. So Jennifer's there.
Yep, she sure is. Good morning, Jennifer.
Hello, Neal.
Oh, hi, Jennifer. I made it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Right on time.
Oh, Mark, I should warn you. You're probably about to hear 3 sirens pull up outside the studio.
Oh, you made it that quickly.
Could you please tell them I'm not here?
Yeah, I'll tell him Neal who? I've never seen him before, never heard of him. So,
Oh, well.
all right.
Okay, thanks.
Very good.
So it's been an exciting day, folks. We'll get into some of the details of this later. First of all, let's do the homekeeping. This is the Neal Show. I'm Neal Kruse, your host. You will be able to listen to the rest of this show later today by going to nealandlarry.com, Neal and Larry.com. Click on past shows, and you will be able to listen to this recording. However, today it's going to be mounted much later, maybe towards 7 and 8 p.m. We've got to do 2 shows in studio today, and I'm going to visit a friend in the hospital after that. So it should be up by 8 p.m. tonight. Okay, it's going to be a little bit later. Also, you can go to the website, that same website, Neal and Larry. Remember that Neal is Neal, and you can download the newsletter. Now, you can do that right now, nealandlarry.com. You go to past shows, and there's a newsletter yellow tab. And if you click on that, it will download the newsletter to your website. The reason I'm sort of focusing on that is it has Jennifer's website address on it, and it has one of Jennifer's videos on there about who you are. And it also is a link to her classes and her support that she does in the UK or in Wales. Jennifer, is Wales in the UK?
Yes, Wales is in the UK, yeah.
What would you expect from these?
It's next to England.
I've just proved that Americans really don't care about any country but their own. So if you get that newsletter, folks, you'll have all of the links and everything to be able to follow up what we're talking about here today. And also wanted to, don't forget my partner's website, LarryWeingarten.com, WEINGARTEN.com, and all of Larry's incredible work and his incredible help and support for the show and so on and so forth. So I want to, today I'm also going to make sure that you all have the links to Jennifer's website and to her work. She has been very kind and very generous to me in explaining. I've had questions, I've had concerns, and after this morning, I can tell you that I am just so convinced that this is a very, very important thing that we're doing. Now, we have, this morning, there have been a number of things that happened to get in the way of the show. And I don't want to talk about that starting out, Jennifer, unless you do, but I do want to talk about it at some point in the show. Do you have any thoughts about that, about how to do this today? Because what we want to talk about today is what Jennifer means when she asks the question, who are you? And so this show is for you. This is all for you today, the listeners. This is stuff that you can use in your own way, in your own time, that will really make a difference for you. So how do you think, because I want you to kind of direct this.
Shall we, because since I spoke to you earlier, I realized, I said I had 3 interviews and 2 went wrong.
Yes.
Well, actually, there was a problem with the third one as well, actually, thinking about it. So we could talk about those issues first.
Okay.
Otherwise, we might get distracted and not come back.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
You go first, Neil.
okay, here's the overview is that Jennifer did a interview with Sarah Westall, a very good woman who does excellent work. This is on the YouTube, a very good researcher. She did an interview with her, and there were no problems, so it went very well. And then she did the interview with me 2 weeks ago, no problems, everything went well. And this morning, I had a bunch of things happen to me. I won't get into all of them, but let me give you a few ideas of what happened this morning. I got up early, as I often do on Saturday morning. Sometimes I'll get up at 4 or 4:30. And so I wanted to send out a few emails, as I do to my research community. You know, we each do our own research, and then we share it with each other. And so I started to write a piece on gender, you know, how the gender confusion is used in society. And I'm typing away, and then I'm done, and I'm ready to send the email. And I looked at the clock, and I had spent an hour and a half writing that email. And I was shocked. I mean, I looked at the clock. I kept looking back at the computer. I looked at the clock. I looked at the email I wrote. And Jennifer, the only thing I can tell you is I felt that I had left. I felt that I wasn't present.
Wow.
And so I had no sense of time. Anyway, so I panicked. I got ready. I did the things that I did to do. And then on my way back in from my walk to get the mail and so on, talked to somebody in a business, and they absolutely reamed me out. And so I'm talking to this person with my eyes wide open, and I said, "Did I do something?" And they said, "Oh my God, Neal, I don't know what happened to me. I'm so sorry. I just, you know." So I'm walking back to the studio and saying, "This is one weird day." And I actually sent an email to Jennifer, and I said, "You know, Jennifer, I have a weird feeling that something is trying to distract me from this show today. It's like there's these hidden forces that are working on me." So as I'm headed to the studio, and I didn't get the message that the studio, today is in Salinas. It's not in Monterey. And so I'm at the Monterey studio, knocking on the door, patiently waiting for Mark to answer. And then I thought I'd send him a message, and he says, "Yeah, I'm here in Salinas waiting for you." So that's a half an hour, 45-minute drive. We had about that much time, which is why it's a little bit of a miracle that I'm here right at the start of the show. But now I'm going to finish my end so that you can tell me your end, Jennifer. Now, we got on the phone this morning, and Jennifer says to me, "Neal, did you get that email I sent you with the 2 videos?" And I said, "Yes, I did." And she said, "Okay, which video did you watch?" And I said, "I watched the video about who you are." And she said, "Okay." And she said, "Did you watch the other video?" And I said, "No, I didn't." I said, "What was it on?" And she said, "It was on energies that try to sabotage this message," or something to that effect.
Yeah.
I said, "Seriously?" So you see, the very video that she had sent me was like, in a sense, it was like the universe saying, "Neal, you got to be careful. They don't like her message." So she sends me the video so that I would be prepared for that, and I don't watch the video. And so you see this perfect interweaving of things to kind of push you away from the show, to screw up the show, to make it not happen. Okay, now, have you had any experiences like that on your end, Jennifer?
I have all this week.
All week?
All week. I've had 4 interviews this week, including this one today. And the first one, the Facebook link, and it was all the other people as well. It wasn't me. It was the other people, which was quite interesting.
It's like the hosts.
Yeah, it was all the hosts. Yeah, and the first time the Facebook page wouldn't join me in the video setup thing at all, and she was going, "I don't know why it won't do it, but it won't send it to you." So we got around that. The second time, what happened was it was supposed to be a live video on Facebook again. No, it wasn't on Facebook. It was a live video, but he couldn't publish it and make it live, although he still did it, because there was something wrong with the software, and he found out afterwards that the thing that was wrong with the software was that it had some sort of bleep and hadn't published itself. so it couldn't go live. So we did it anyway. And then on Wednesday, I had an interview at a local radio station. Now, I know what happens to me. I know that. So my friend who was actually being interviewed, she's a singer, and she does fantastic songs. And one of the songs that she does, I'm using for a little project I'm doing. And she used that song and won it, won a competition. And the prize for the competition was a recording in a radio station. So she took me along with her. And I said to her, well, I don't know where that is. I said, will you give me a lift? Because I knew that I wouldn't be able to find it. Okay. So what she did was she came to get me, and on her mobile phone, she typed in the postcode, in the sat-nav, the postcode.
Wow.
And it took us to the wrong place.
Wow.
It took us half an hour away from where we're supposed to be, and the postcode was right.
Oh, my goodness.
But because we were so early, like I said, really early, we were like an hour and a half early, we managed to find the place by asking some children who were playing in a field, because we were literally in the middle of nowhere in a field.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was the right postcode. She hadn't made an error. Isn't that strange?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And now tonight, isn't that? So there you go. There you go, Neil. What can I say?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, this is, now Jennifer understands this process, so I don't have to explain to her how this works. But I think to most people out there, it's kind of strange. It's like, what are they talking about? Forces in the universe that come out and fight you when you have an important show? What are they talking about? I've never heard about that before. So when you go outside of the system, I talk about that sometimes, and you realize that the information you're getting in the universities and high school and on TV and Hollywood is a very small subset of the whole realm of information. Once you break through that net and it becomes impossible for you to return, it happens in many cases by people having an extremely negative experience. That happened to me as well in 1998. And the only people that could help me with what happened to me were the research communities. And after they helped me, they invited me in and they said, you're going to leave the normal world here. You're going to leave the world of the mainstream news. You're going to go to a different level now. And you need to be aware of the fact that this is not going to be comfortable. This is not going to be easy. And if you go around telling everybody about this stuff, you're going to find out real quick. You're not going to get kudos for this. You're going to get punished. Well, I had to learn that, and that took time. And then we sometimes you have whistleblowers, and you set up a meeting, and they say, hey, I'd like to talk to you. I know some stuff that you might want to know. And on your way there, they have an accident, or you run out of gas, and you thought you knew what your gas tank was full, and so over time, it becomes, when the universe warps and begins to fight you as you're working on something or as you're working with a specific guest, you learn over time that it's actually an underlining of their message. It's the negative side of the universe saying their message is so destructive to our goals, which is to harm the human race, which is to divide community. Their message is so harmful to our goals that we will warp the universe to prevent it from getting out. So what I like to do, and I think Jennifer's on board with me, is to let you all know that what this has done is inform you that how important this show is today, that the universe is trying to stop it from happening. How does that line up with your view of these kinds of things, Jennifer?
Well, again, as we were talking about earlier, I had 7 years, which I've only just come out of it really, of incredible negative sort of happenstances. Which
7 years?
7 years, yes. And what I did was I just wrote the books, and then I wrote videos, and then I thought I had an idea, and then I just wrote again, because I literally couldn't do anything, because I was spending all my focus and my energy on keeping up my, what I call your plus feels, your inner strength feel energy. I had to keep that up.
Yes.
because that was the only way I could sort of. I had to match the more negative things we're getting, the more I had to up my own bar,
Yes.
to balance it,
Yes.
and we can talk about more then later. But yeah, I had 7 years of that.
Wow.
So it was yeah. But you can do it. You need to just keep well wise. You need to have the knowledge to keep yourself safe,
Yes.
and then you need to keep your feel energy, your power energy store up. You need to keep that up. Otherwise, it will go down, and you'll be overwhelmed, and then you'll go into mind energy, and then you'll get anxious, panicky, stressed, and all that sort of thing.
Yes. So
Yeah.
you're describing, just trying to underline what you've just said. What Jennifer's saying is something that she told me this last week. She said, Neal, you don't when you have a problem, if you're being attacked or there's a group coming after you, whatever, you don't go to war with them. You build up your what would you call it, Jennifer? Feel energies?
Yeah, I call it feel energy to differentiate it from mind energy.
Yes.
And your feel energy is like water. It's very, very. You carry it with you all the time. It's quite quiet. It's not that obvious. And you carry it around in what I call, your goldfish bowl of feelings in your sort of stomach area. And it's what you feel. It's your gut knowledge. It's where who you are is, and that's your feel energy, and it's called your power energy store. Now, sometimes some people have big ones, some people have little ones, some people have dark water, which is sadness, and if that's carried around for a long time, that sadness starts to affect your mind, and that's when things become bad and people become anxious and panicky. That's where the energy for negative emotion comes from, is the sad grief you're carrying with you in your feelings. And sometimes they're stored in like bottles of Coca-Cola, I describe it.
Yes.
So you're not really aware that they're there, but every now and then they'll fizz up. If something triggers you in your reality, and that's when all the fizz kind of literally goes up into your mind, and you experience is like a fire, a bang, an emotional, intense experience, and your mind takes you over and starts to run you, and it makes you very anxious because your mind is frightened of what's happening.
Wow. Okay, so what makes up this grief? Is it when somebody dies? Is it when you got fired?
That's a fantastic question, because this goes right back to what we were talking about, which is who you are. Okay? Now, what your brain does, and this is how we've been programmed from cavemen, what your brain does is it works out how you feel given who you are, okay?
Yes.
So if who I am likes apples and I'm in an orchard, my brain will work that out and say, actually, you feel good because given who you are, you're in a good environment to be that.
For you.
Yeah.
For you specifically and individually. This is good for you. Yeah.
Yes. But if I was with my friend who likes strawberries, that wouldn't be a good feeling for her because she's surrounded by apple trees.
So that would cause her. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Right. Again, they're kind of quite light examples here. I'm giving quite easy, light examples.
Great.
Yeah. Now, what happens is that the way your brain works this out is it uses what I call the power needs, and there's 10 power needs, and we can talk about that more in a minute.
Yes.
But given who you are, your brain calculates your power needs. Am I able to be who I am? Am I able to show who I am? Am I able to create something given who I am in this environment? And if that's the case, you'll get a plus feel. And so a little sparkling water, little sparkling droplet of clear water will go into your feels, because it will be great, because you'll feel good inside because you can be who you are. And this is the vibration. This is a vibration of energy where creation comes from, where love comes from, where care comes from, and where we as human beings can show can manifest actually our spiritual purpose and meaning, given we've been created to be this unique person on this planet, 3D planet. So we can use the opportunity when we're in an environment of being who we are, and we can show who we are, to then create and to manifest what we're here for.
Perfect.
Yeah?
See,
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, so when you score what I call a minus feel,
Uh-huh.
what happens is sometimes I think most people in this society are suffering from low-grade trauma because the minus feels they get every single day are all to do with the fact that they can't show people who they are because they're maybe stuck in a job where they're just looking for money and they can't show who they are. So they're accumulating lots of little dark grief droplets, which are quite small. So they're not big enough like a death to actually stop you in your tracks, you know?
Okay, so they can develop from being in a job that you don't like.
Yes, yes.
Got it.
And over 20 years or so, these little tiny drops of minus feels, little drops of water that go into your feelings. This is why people get depressed, and they don't know why they're depressed. It's because they're suffering from low-grade trauma. But because it's quite small, they don't notice. And after a while, they're so used to it, they don't even know they're in that situation because they don't know. They don't know. They don't know. they don't know they've forgotten who they are because they didn't remember in the first place, you know?
Yes.
So what they then do, what happens then, is then the brain compensates for this low feel energy. And what it does, depending again on the person, on who they are, depending again on your environment, it will either find mind energy to compensate, which is things like money, status, a big car, lots of approval from the outside of you, so other people giving you approval. I call that a tick. And if you imagine, that's like fire. So it's much more noticeable than the water contentment you'll carry with you. It's like a fire, and it's very intense, it's very quick, it's short-lived, and then you need another one. And that's why when you focus on targets or goals, when you've achieved that target or goal, you get a big buzz, you get a big tick, but then you need another one. Because if you don't keep it going, that fire energy cannot sustain you because it's so short-lived.
Okay, so you want to repeat it over and over and over.
Yeah, you need more and more. So more success, more ticks. And that is because partly it's an addictive sort of energy because it doesn't last long because it's based on something outside of you.
That sounds like getting likes on Facebook.
It is like getting likes on Facebook. And I compare it to, if you imagine a stick of wood, and if you imagine in your mind, it's like a head office. So your mind really is only supposed to process information. You're not supposed to experience your life from your mind. It's just supposed to process stuff. And if you imagine that's the head office, if you imagine there's a little fire in there, that fire has to be kept burning to give you energy. I mean, you can actually experience it, can't you? When you're excited, it's like you're kind of hot.
Yes.
It's like a hot thing.
Right.
So you need to collect lots of wood to keep that fire burning. Otherwise, you feel lost because you've got no direction.
So you need to pick up the cell phone every 9 seconds. So you need to check your Facebook count every 2 minutes.
Well, I go a step further with that because I say that in reality, if a friend of mine says, I don't know, I want a race, I get a tick, okay? With IT, Facebook, and things like that, smartphones, it's not just a tick. I call it a plastic tick. So it's like a toxic tick. Yeah.
So wait. So you're saying it's not even a really good tick?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I used to think, living. Yeah.
That's okay. You can finish your sentence.
Okay. I used to think that ticks were bad, but since the mobile phones, I think plastic ticks are much worse because they're toxic at the same time.
Oh boy. We are listening to Jennifer Foster. Jennifer Foster has developed a system called the Energy Dynamic Model. And when we come back, we're going to get into the big question of all time, who are we? You're listening to the Neal Show, Power Talk 1460 AM, 101.1 FM, and 105.1 HD2. We'll be right back with more of Jennifer Foster.
trending on Power Talk.
The release of this memo.
So I sent it over to Congress.
For every American to read.
I think it's a disgrace
For our democracy. This is earth-shaking. Worse than Watergate.
People need to be held accountable.
This is a tipping point.
Stay informed.
Tremendous bonuses. Nancy Pelosi called crumbs.
Stay connected.
We have a proposal.
Immigration reform.
Make America white again.
News at the top of every hour.
Patriots and the Eagles, Super Bowl Sunday.
I see my royal shadow. 6 more weeks of winter to go.
This is Power Talk, 1460 and 101 FM.
Are your parents getting on in years? Perhaps a loved one in your family no longer able to take care of themselves like they used to? But what to do? Larger facilities leave you feeling cold. 24-hour home care, too expensive? I'm Neal with The Neal Show, and I want to tell you about a couple of friends of mine, Miriam and Herman, and their 2 wonderful residential care homes, Agape of Carmel and Flanders Court of Carmel, founded in 1989. Owner-operated, only 6 residents in each home, ensuring special, loving attention. Sunny, warm environments. Residents decorate their own rooms. Visitors come and go almost any time of day or night. Home-cooked meals made from wholesome foods and special diets if needed. Herman and Miriam drive their residents to doctor appointments, keep them laughing and happy like being at home. Usually full, they have an opening right now. So call Herman at 831-626-0824 for a tour of their incredible facilities or just for a little free advice. Again, that's Herman at 831-626-0824.
Saturday afternoon at 3 on Hometown Heroes. This 95-year-old performed over 15,000 heart surgeries. But wait till you hear the impact of a question he was asked in the segregated army in World War II.
Private, are you colored? If I'd have simply said yes, I'd have gotten into the program. But instead of that, I said, what do you think?
Learn how that answer nearly cost him his life on Hometown Heroes. Saturday, 3 p.m. on Power Talk, 1460 and 101 FM.
iHeartRadio is the easy-to-use app for music and radio. Download the free iHeartRadio app today.
Welcome back to The Neal Show. And we have with us today Jennifer Foster from Wales. And she has written 2 books, The Eye in the Storm and The Answer. And I had mentioned to everybody, you can go to our website, nealandlarry.com, N-E-A-L for Neal, nealandlarry.com. Click on past shows, and you can download the newsletter, which will download to your desktop. And the link to show you where these books can be purchased is in there. I just received mine this morning. They were sent to me by Jennifer from Wales. They're fabulous books. They're in big text, so easy to read. And also, Jennifer works with people through the internet. Could you tell us just a little bit about that, Jennifer? I want to get this into the middle of the show so that we don't lose it.
Yes, okay, thank you. There's several ways you can find out more about this. I've got some free online courses which back up the book. So people can either do a free online course, get the hang of the idea, and then maybe buy a book, or they can buy a book and then do the free online courses, which gives you much more information about the nuts and bolts of the information. So it helps you apply it more in your life. One of them is aimed at parents to teach their children, and there's loads of resources on that.
Wait. Could you say that? Parents and their children?
Yeah, parents, how to teach this to their children.
How to teach this to their children. Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
how to bring them up. How
to raise your children. Oh, excellent.
Yeah, it's not really parenting. It's not telling you how to parent. It's more how to introduce to your child the idea of who they are, what they feel, mind, energy, anger, and anxiety. And my 7-year-old, I've brought him up with this, can tell me I'm having a minus pill mummy, and so I say, well, what's going on? And he'll tell me so we can address the situation before it goes into an emotional experience. And what he says is it fizzes up. It's going to fizz. So it gives the child the ability to communicate to the parent before something becomes a tantrum, And so everyone's aware of it. And it's very gentle language. It's a, we use words like sort of fuzzy head or silly mind or, a minus feel or a plus feel, or this is making me feel good because I can show who I am because I'm enjoying this. So they start to identify what is making them feel strong inside from a very young age. And there's also songs you can sing to your children. I won't sing it on air, but I've made
Fabulous.
up some songs. It's based on nursery rhymes. I don't know if they're the same in the USA, but they're based on nursery rhymes. So the tunes are familiar, but I've just changed the words so children get used to singing about it, And there's loads of stuff. There. So that's really handy, and that's totally free because I just really want people to be able to teach their children how to communicate at a very early age about this, because it will make sure that they're more resilient to issues later on in life, like bullying and like being stuck on online things.
Yes.
Because they can start to identify what's happening. So instead of them thinking there's an issue, instead they'll start to look at their environment and work out what it is in that environment that's giving them a minus feel.
Yes.
So there's the online courses. If people like the idea, like the online courses, and like the books, then I can either work with them one-to-one on the phone, I can work with them one-to-one on Skype, and I've also got some online courses that people pay for, where they can, it's not very much money, and they can just see more videos and more downloads and more exercises. One of the courses, I actually mark their homework. I give them homework and I mark it for them. So they don't have to talk to me as such. They can just have a more detailed online experience.
Okay, so people can do this completely solo on their own time, on their own schedule for the beginning courses.
Yes, they can do it totally solo. They can then do an advanced course totally solo with me just marking a few things, or they can do some one-to-one sessions with me on the phone or Skype.
Yes. Okay,
Depending
and
how,
that website. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, depending on how far they want to sort of get into it, because as you said, it is a process, and sometimes people just want to sort of get a feel for it, and they think, okay, I've learned that, now I'll apply it, and that's all they might need for that moment,
Yeah.
But other people might think, oh, actually, I want to do more here. So what I've tried to do is to cover all people really. I want to accommodate all people, because you can use it for leadership, you can use it to understand why you're anxious, you can use it for all sorts of things.
Jennifer, could we use it as a guideline for how to create healthy and happy community?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, yes.
That's why you're on the air on this show, because I happen to think this will make a huge difference, not only in the individual, but in the community if we were to practice more of this. But I want to get her website is Energy Dynamic, just like it sounds, energydynamic.co.uk. Isn't that it, Jennifer?
That's it. I'm getting a new website up soon. My website at the moment is quite old, but that's my address. And
that's it for right now.
The ones for the children's courses is www.amindthroughachild'seyes.com.
themindthroughachildseye.com.
Eyes, plural, yeah. There's an S on the end of the eyes.
A child's eyes.com.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right. Now, Jennifer, can I ask you for just a little bit of clarification on two things?
Yes.
Okay. I want my readers my listeners to understand this in a simple and clear way. And you use the word feel, F-E-E-L, right?
Yes.
A plus feel, a minus feel, right?
Yeah.
And then you talk about, you refer to feel energy.
Yeah.
And that this feel energy is something that most of us don't see, or it's kind of, we're not sure that it's there, but it's in us. And there's different levels of this. We can have a lot of it, or we can have a little of it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Are you talking about feelings?
I'm talking, yes. There's two feelings in this model. And remember, it's an imaginary model, okay? It's imaginary. I'm not literally saying it, but it's how it works.
Yes.
So the two feels you have are either sad, which can also be interpreted as grief, a sad feel, or a content peace feel.
Yes.
And that's it. And as cavemen, that was it. Sad or peace.
Yes.
Content. Yeah?
Yes.
Now, everything else is emotion, and is the energy from emotion is generated from the sad feels that are stored in you through your bottles, in the sad feels that are stored in, so they're like kind of Coca-Cola bottles in your feeling area, okay?
Yes.
And that fuels your energy when you're in your mind energy zone, which is like, as I said, a fire of anger and anxiety and panic, okay?
Uh-huh.
And it's a different vibration and it's a different focus. And the reason that people can't concentrate on their feels is because, and this is so sort of clever, really, in the sense of the system tricking us, quite frankly, because the mind energy is so noticeable and so intense. So if there's a huge fire burning, imagine, you concentrate on the fire, don't you? You don't notice that the lake down the road. You know,
right.
It's all about the fire. So because people in this society are constantly having to collect ticks to survive in this society, not as cavemen, but in this society, their focus becomes totally concentrated on mind, fire, energy, vibration. So they forget and cut off from their feels, and the feels is based on who you are. So we get lost in the process.
Right. So now you're saying, if you want, no, well, hold on, one thing, and this might help people to understand this more clearly. When we're talking about grieving somebody, and it takes years to grieve. If you've been with them for, say, 40, 50 years, it takes years to move through the grief. What Jennifer said to me is, she said, Neal, have you noticed how grieving moves in waves? And I've noticed this in my own self, and my sister talks about this. And it's like suddenly the grief comes back.
Yeah.
And you say, well, I'm not healing because, look, the grief just showed up again. Could you explain to us what's happening with that, Jennifer?
Yes.
So that all of my psychologist friends can see the beauty of this? Go ahead.
I'd love to. Thank you. So what happens in how can I put it, more functioning people is that if we get a large amount of minus feels, and one of the things that causes this is your animal power need of love, care. So if you lose someone, it's a huge minus feel, okay?
Yeah.
Now, in more functioning type people, what happens is the brain thinks, oh my goodness, this is such a large minus feel coming into my feelings, I won't be able to handle it. So what it does is it puts it into a bottle of like Coca-Cola. So there's a big bottle in your feelings of fishbowl sparkling water. Now the reason that it does that is because it doesn't dilute the whole water. Yeah?
Yes.
It's basically keeping you safe from that grief. You don't have to experience it at that moment, because if you did, it would overwhelm you, and that would be really problems for you, okay?
Yes.
So the brain protects you by putting it in a bottle of dark, putting it in the bottle. So what then happens is as time passes and as you go along with your life, and you do start to, show who you are, other things happen that are in line with who you are, your goldfish bowl of feelings can actually start to fill up with more sparkling water. Now, everyone has a sort of, what's the word? Everyone reaches a point in their fish bowl of feelings where the brain says, okay, I've got so many good feels now. I've got such a lot of sparkling water in my goldfish bowl of feelings. I can afford to get rid of some of that grief from that bottle. So what your brain will do, and it does this totally naturally, you cannot force this, you cannot think this, okay? You cannot think it. It's a basic animal way that we work. What it will do is it will empty a tiny piece, a tiny part of the dark water, and as the bottle empties some of the dark water into your goldfish bowl of sparkling feelings, that water will temporarily darken yeah?
Yes.
And that is the grief that you will feel that will sort of come out from nowhere, and suddenly you'll think, oh, I feel really, really sad. I feel really sad, and I don't know why. It's your bottle of grief emptying. Then the brain puts the lid back on, and it sinks down again, and then you carry on about your day, and the sparkling water slowly lightens up, and that's healthy, that's healing, and that's how the brain gets sort of starts to cleanse itself from your grief that you're still carrying.
Yes. So what Jennifer is saying is, if let me put it another way. I was reading this Carol Chandler's I Ching, and I was reading her philosophical section, and the reason I got it is because it was reminding me of what Jennifer said. And she says, look, when you have a conflict in your life, you're going to get emotional, you're going to go into your head, and you're going to say to yourself, I'm going to fix this. I know exactly what I'm going to do to that S&O, right? And she says, don't do that. Instead, she said, back away from the situation, go into your own being, and wait, and wait. And eventually you'll process what's going on. You'll come to a place of peace and understanding. You'll see your role in it. And she said, and then the situation will simply resolve itself.
Yes.
And Jennifer told me this. She said, Neal, if you build up your inner feels, many of the conflicts in your life will just go away. And Jennifer, aren't you saying essentially, if we have more feels, more plus feels, we can heal ourselves better?
Yes, yes, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the water feel energy is the healing sort of magic human spirit energy that in you. That's where that's stored. And the other energy, the mind energy, is completely different, and it doesn't heal you. It drives you forward. It drives you forward through time, okay, in a very linear way. So in the mind, 1 plus 1 in the mind equals 11, just 2 ones.
Yeah.
You know, it just drives you forward just like that, but robotically, but rationally. It drives you forward. It gets you up in the morning. This is all in the answer book. It gets you up in the morning. It gives you a goal, and it keeps you going. That's mind energy. Whereas feel energy is just create and is just love. And it was feel energy, 1 plus 1 creates a 2. And a 2 is bigger than the 2 ones that we use to create it. And that's when, again, you get yourself, your feels are up. Once your sparkling water goes up, you can then be in the present. You can then enter your being. Because one reason that people struggle to go into their being is partly because they're so distracted by mind energy and they're looking for ticks all the time. But the other reason is that they're actually carrying so much grief, their brain won't let them go there because it's too dangerous. And it's like, no, you can't go there. And when that happens, some people stop looking for ticks because they can't get any. Yeah, if they haven't got a job or whatever, they can't get a tick. So they can't actually go into who they are because there's too much grief there, probably from low-grade trauma. Yeah. And what they do then, and this is what we were talking about in the Sarah Western interview, they then go either into the escape world, which is drinking and drugs and lying, basically, or they go into other people's field, where they get energy from other people, and that can lead to abuse issues and all that sort of thing. So the answer to, well, not the answer, the solution to becoming more into your being is to get your plus feels up. So whatever dynamic you're in, whether you're using the other people's feel or the escape world or the mind tick method to gather up your energy, becomes less important because you're starting to center, you're starting to come into yourself, as that lady you just were talking about said happens. You start to be able to go into yourself because you can. You know, you're able to because you're not carrying grief and you know how to do it. A lot of this, about 50% of this, is just knowing on what to focus on. The other part is building up your plus feels, and that's all about, as we said, who you are, which is why it is so important to know who you are, because that is the only way you can gather up your plus feels. And then you start to become centered. Your cravings for drugs reduces. Your need to sort of get feels from other people decreases, and your need for mind energy decreases.
Wow. Okay. And you say for us to get more plus feels, we have to know who we are.
Yes.
So let me play devil's advocate. Doesn't everybody know who they are, Jennifer? I mean, I'm Neal Kruse. I have a degree in psychology. You know, I'm a really good designer of homes. I do a radio show. I know who I am. What do you think?
That's fine. That's your mind interpretation of who you are. That's your role in society.
Mm-hmm.
That's what qualifications you have. That's the mind construct. That's the mind construct of who you are.
Yes.
Which is valid. Which is valid. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you imagine that's like your clothes, it's the clothes you have on, yeah?
Yeah.
But it's not actually who you are.
Yes.
So it's the cloak that covers who you are when you go into the mind, society, institution of, for want of a better word, the matrix. Yeah.
Right. The system.
It's the systems. It's the systems who you are, Neil. It's the systems who you are. Now, the who you are I'm talking about is again, I'm not saying for a minute this is true from a philosophical point of view. I'm saying this is true from what works in what works in a pragmatic way. This is what works, if you get me.
Yes.
So from a who you are point of view of feels, it's all about, and this is quite spiritual really, because it's how you've been created, how you've specially been created as Neal. There's no other person like you in the whole world, you know, before or after. You know, you have been created to be this special Neal, you know.
Yes.
And it's to do with your intelligence, as in it's very important to be in situations where you can understand it. It's not too difficult. It's not too easy. Yeah. So it's your intelligence. It's how you learn. It's your learning style. So do you like to be in environments where you're with a group of people? Do you like to be in environments where you're sort of communicating through telephones? Do you like being in an environment where you like communicating through speech? You know, how do you communicate? How do you learn? How do you absorb knowledge? Some people love to absorb knowledge by doing, don't they?
Yeah.
And the people who like doing often struggle at school, because in a school you're sitting down all day. So they're getting low-grade trauma minus feels all day, because their learning style, given who they are, is having a minus feel, because it's not happening for them. So that leads to negative behaviour in the end, because if they're kept in that situation for a long time, then the minus feels build up, then something will trigger, bottles will be in their feelings area, and then they go into mind and panic. Yeah?
Yes.
So it's about your intelligence level, it's about your learning style, it's about your preferences. What do you like eating? What do you like it when it's sunny? Do you like it when it's rainy? Everything, all this sort of tactile kind of real world. As you said to me, Neal, being an architect, you know, your environment is so important to you. You know, it's so important to how you are. And I so agree with you. And so it's your preferences as a physical human being, you know. Do you know what I mean?
Preferences,
as well as what you think you like, it's actually what you need. It's not what you want, it's what you need. And most people spend hours and hours, as going back to what you were saying, playing devil's advocate, saying, well, I know what I want, and it's like, well, actually, it's not about what you want. You've got to forget about what you want. What you want is mine. That's what you think you want, it's mine. What you've got to focus on is, what do you need? What do you need to be able to engage with who you are and to get into this plus feel situation so you can start creating?
And we need safety, and we need to be healthy. Basics like that. You spell this out in the book very well. It's similar to the psychologist listening, similar to Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, it is similar. It's just sort of updated to modern day, really.
Yes.
So back to the who you are.
We've got a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Not to rush you.
Okay, so there's the preferences, and then the next thing is what you enjoy doing. Like, do I like cycling? Do I like, you know, what you naturally enjoy doing? And I call that your talent, not your skill that you're taught, but your talent. You need to know your talent.
Would these be natural gifts?
Yes.
What makes your heart sing?
Yes, what you were born good at naturally, and it could be really tiny, weeny, but it doesn't matter. You know, the quirk, your quirk, basically. What's your quirk? And then the last thing, And this is so important, and this is what makes people create, is your imagination. And that is the essence of who you are, your imagination. And you can't access that unless the other who you are in a plus feel state.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If your other things are in a plus feel state, your imagination then kicks in because it's got something to work with. It's got something to work with, and it will create something. And you won't believe it. It's just like, wow! Suddenly you can see things that you never saw before.
So, to our listeners, I think Jennifer is saying, this is how you find out who you are, and this is what that means to find out who you are. Jennifer, my experience of life was, Neal, when you grow up and you become an adult, you'll finally realize you don't get to do what you don't want. You don't get to do what you're dreaming about. All of that is the stuff of children. Because what it means to grow up is to face the hard fact that you're going to have a job that you hate for your entire life so that you have a retirement. And that's what it means to be an adult. This is the message I felt I got in life.
Well, that's it. That's the mind. That's the mind society has created. Definition of life. That is what it is, and that's why people are in that. They're just living through their mind, Neil. They're living through their mind, and they're experiencing life like that. And I say what they're doing really is that they're just processing. They're just processing what's happening and not actually experiencing or feeling anything.
Right. So Jennifer, we want our message to the listeners is find out who you are, right?
Find out who you are, absolutely.
Ask those questions.
How this works. Understand how this works, yeah.
And then when that happens and they find out who they are and they put themselves in the environments that support who they are, and they're doing what makes them happy, and they're in that environment, then they will attract other people like them. Now their plus feels go up. Now they begin to heal psychologically. They become better people, and we have a healthy and happy community.
Yes.
I sort of, that's the short version of the story.
But that is it. That is it. That is how it works. It's very, very simple. Very simple.
Well, this has been absolutely amazing, Jennifer. I want to thank you. Thank you so much for this message. Her website is energydynamic.co.uk. Go to nealandlarry.com, Neal, and you'll be able to listen to this show later today. Jennifer, as you can tell, is going to be back. And all of those spirits out there, if you had an attack today, maybe not. But now she will definitely be back. Thank you to my producer, Mark Carbonaro. Thank you to Herman and Larry for your support. And thank you, Jennifer Foster, because you're going to make a big difference in the world.
Well, thank you for your kind words, Neil.
We're going to be talking again. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
PowerTalk1460.com.
Home of the most powerful name in news, Fox News.
KION Salinas and K266BD Carmel Valley.
Power Talk
1460 and 101 FM.